life keeps changing day by day, like a hurricane. They say that nothing ever stays the same. But what became of the love that we once had? And when the good times turn to bad, remember, it ain't the big things that make my heart sing. I'm just waiting on the phone to ring, 'cause it's small talk makes a bigger picture. Brothers and sisters, it's a small talk that paints a bigger world. So when you're out there on your own, far away from home, and you're searching from your soul for some love solid, just remember this, it's small talk, paints a bigger picture. That's where the heart is. It's a small talk, it makes a bigger world. Just get started, so when you're ready and you're able, pull a chair up to the table. Oh, it's a small talk, it makes a bigger picture. Brothers and sisters, it's a small talk, paints a bigger world.
Okay, welcome again to another episode of Big Conversations with Small Talk. I'm Alex, and we are here with Sarah and Megan yet again for another episode. We have some really exciting things planned for this week, but we wanted to start off as we did last week with our background competition. So 2 weeks ago, we had our pets, and Megan's cat, Jack, on a leash, won. So he was our background this time, or last time. This time we have childhood art. So we all submitted a piece of art that we did when we were children. And interestingly enough, before we recorded this, we had a tie. And then maybe like 5 minutes ago, our first guest, one of our former interns, Kaylin, swooped in and kind of made the deciding vote for us. We had pretty exciting plans for how we were going to do the showdown between, well, it's between Sarah and Megan, between their photos. And so we'll have to save that for a different time. So not encouraging people to make it a tie, but if it happens to happen again, we'll be prepared. So Sarah won with her Friends Forever photo. So we'll throw that up on all of our screens. Great picture,
so
Sarah.
honored.
You should. It's a great picture. So, and also as we did last week, we want to, learn a little bit about this photo or this picture and your history as an artist. So, how old were you when you drew this?
I was in 3rd grade, so I think I was like 8.
Okay.
And I'll share my screen with you so you can see the full picture in its glory.
Yes.
There it is.
So nice.
Beautiful.
So Sarah, you're the one in the pigtails, right?
I am. Yeah, that was the hairstyle that I rocked for many years of my childhood.
Gotcha.
Proud of it.
Good deal. All right. So what was your inspiration behind making this lovely piece of artwork?
Well, I think that I had big plans to be friends forever with this friend in the picture. So I decided to make it into a piece of art that my mom would keep forever and just always remind me of this friendship. So the friendship did fizzle, unfortunately, but the memory is still there.
That's great.
Yes,
and it's a plate, which is a really cool piece of trivia. So, and it's lasted forever, or at least, a couple decades. So that's
right.
Standing
Many
the test of time.
On that plate.
Yeah, right. Oh, you ate meals on it too?
Oh yeah, that's why it's a plate. It was a functional piece of
I thought
art.
it was just a decorative plate. This is actually like serves multiple purposes. Why? If I would have known that, I would have definitely voted for yours. It's serving multiple purposes. That's impressive. It's art and it's functional. That's wow. My mind is blown. All right. So then our last question for you would be, so if you had to pick an artist that sort of inspired your work, who would you choose and why?
Well, I really had to think about this one, and I was analyzing my facial structures in the plate. I think because of the very like rigid noses, I'm gonna go with Picasso. I think he had like a facial like theme going, but I don't know for sure. So I'm just gonna go with him.
Good choice.
My third grade self to Picasso.
So. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like same mold, definitely.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for submitting, and Megan for submitting your photos and your pictures, and thank you all for voting. We appreciate it. So next week, we're gonna do something a little creative. So this won't be anything sort of from our childhoods, but we wanted to do a photo that sort of represents a recreation of a scene from a favorite movie of ours. So we're going to try it out, see how it works. We may have to write descriptions on Facebook this time so that people know what we're recreating, because it'll just be with what we have to use during our quarantine. So it'll take all of our creativity to make this work, but it should be really fun and exciting. So thanks again for participating. We really appreciate it. It's a fun way to engage with everybody who's watching our show. So we're going to start out with Megan's More Than a Minute, and she's going to talk about some virtual tours that you can do with your kids.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Alex. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It should be cool. So right here is the website for the Detroit Institute of Arts. This was a really cool virtual field trip activity kind of thing that I had found. So this is going to walk you through, it's about a 20-minute video of behind the scenes of the museum and how art is taken care of and kept up and cleaned and handled, and all of the different things that we don't really get to see even when you go and visit the museum. And it's a pretty interactive video. It kind of walks you through, places where not many people get to go unless you work for the institution. And the really cool thing about their website is that they do have the information to have like an activity to follow up with that. So you can have a discussion before you watch the video, kind of talk about different art things, even create some different pieces of art of your own. Then there's different kind of vocabulary words to look out for during the video. That way we're able to kind of expand our vocab, our knowledge on different things like that. And then there will be a discussion for afterwards. And the nice thing is that they do list the grades. So you can use this through 2nd through 12th grade, just making it easier for, any age group of kids, because it's a really cool thing to learn about. And one thing that we were wanting to do that kind of goes along with our theme this week is taking some time to get creative with your kids and your family and create your own art institute within your house. So finding childhood pictures, creating new pictures, hanging those up in the hallways and walking around with your family, or even like we had talked about last week, to keep in contact with those family members and friends that don't live in the home with us, that you can have a video call and show them the things that you've done. Even finding a friend or a classmate to do something similar too, so that way you're able to find some really cool, fun activities to still stay connected with your friends and family, and still learn some pretty cool things too. So this, of course, is also a pretty good option just to offer to teachers too. Maybe they're running out of some ideas or want to try something as a whole class. So these activities on the website are really fun And we will post the link for the website. Of course, at the top, there's all sorts of different education activities, virtual field trips, virtual tours, things like that. But we thought that this one would be a really fun one to check out because it goes along with our theme of this week. It gives everybody a chance to get creative, go outside, make some kind of piece of art with things that you find outside or different things like that. And of course, we would love to see the different things that you can come up with by posting those and tagging us with, of course, the hashtag Small Talk Cares. And we would really love to see what kinds of things you can come up with as a family.
Thanks, Megan. That's awesome. I look forward to being able to go back to museums one day. It's really fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. Have either of you guys been to DIA before? I have not.
Yeah, it's really big and it's really cool. They have so much there. So I think this would be a great tour. You could probably spend like all day on it virtually. So
yeah.
I think too, like the behind the scenes piece of it too, because that's not something that anybody really gets to see. Like I have a sister-in-law who's like a museum curator, so like sometimes she'll tell me like ins and outs of things that happen at, behind the scenes at museums and things like that. But to really get that insight too, because that's a really cool job that maybe like some kids maybe never considered before who really like museums and being involved in, history and art and those kind of things. It's really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that you can learn from the video, going outside and finding different rocks and learning ways to clean rocks and finding different things that you might not know are in your backyard or, there's history everywhere that you look. So it would be really cool to be able to learn some tips and some tricks on how to find, fossils in your rock garden or whatever you have. And I think it's really fun to be able to learn how to do that and to see how much work goes into keeping art alive and in the condition that it is in too. Is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Megan. All right, and now we're back for skills and support with Sarah. So she's going to talk about gratitude, a really important thing for us to be thinking about, especially at this time. So take it away.
Thanks. So yeah, like Alex said, I think I picked gratitude to talk about today because of the fact that there's so much, difficulty and negative things that, are kind of made prominent in the news right now and just on our social media. And there's a lot of stuff going around that could kind of tend to get us down. And so right now, but really any time in our lives, gratitude can be so helpful to help us feel a little bit more positive, especially when, things might be feeling kind of down once in a while. So my goal of talking about gratitude today is just to remind everybody about the importance of some balance between, being aware and thoughtful about some of the difficulty that does exist right now in the world and in our personal lives. But not the purpose of me talking about this is not to say that we need to always have a positive attitude about everything or that we need to say that everything's perfect all the time, because, that's not always the case. And we need to be truthful with ourselves and healthy with our emotions. And so it is very normal in a human experience to have some difficult emotions as well. So I wanted to talk about some of the benefits of practicing gratitude, because there are a lot that have been studied, and there's a lot of great research findings on what practicing gratitude regularly can do for us. So one of the major things is just increasing our happiness levels and decreasing depressive symptoms. And so gratitude can be a thing that's helpful to practice when we are down, but it also can be a great preventative strategy to keep our moods from going down when we are feeling like we're in a good place. And the idea of practicing gratitude is just to be appreciative of even some of the really small things in life that we might not normally notice or we might take for granted in some ways. So I'll go into some specific examples of some of the things that we can kind of look out for and remind ourselves of. But when we're able to focus on some more positive thoughts, it can help us to feel a little bit better because our thoughts and feelings are so closely connected. Gratitude can also help us to improve our relationships and connection with others, because when we're able to share with another person that we feel appreciative of them and the relationship that we have with them, it helps us to have a stronger connection and to open up some communication with each other, to feel a little bit maybe more vulnerable and okay with that in the relationship. And that can go for family relationships, friendships, a lot of different kinds of relationships. It can increase empathy and decrease aggression. And it also actually improves self-esteem, which I think is really cool and something we might not normally think about. So especially for like teenagers, you know, older kids and teens, this can be a really helpful effect of gratitude, because, you know, it's a really common thing to struggle with when we're growing up in our teenage years. And so the way that it works is just that when we feel like we can appreciate another person's accomplishment, rather than feeling like we are comparing ourselves to them or thinking about what we don't have that that person does have, that attitude of gratitude can help us just to feel positive about what somebody else has done, rather than relating it to what we might be missing out on. And then lastly, gratitude increases resilience and the ability to heal from a traumatic experience. And so this is obviously really, you know, important and helpful for the work that we do at Small Talk. And the way that this works is just when we are able to focus on some of the things that we still do have in our life and what is going well, even if it's a really small thing, it can help us to feel like there is some good in the world, even when we are in, you know, the worst of times, experiencing a trauma. So knowing all of that, knowing the really great effects that gratitude can have, how can we practice it regularly? And one of the things I just kind of wanted to emphasize is that just like any habit or skill, practicing it and doing that consistently is really important to be able to develop it well and use it in the most effective way. So I have some examples of just some pretty simple activities that you could do with your family, or your children or teenagers could do, and I'm excited to share them with you. So I'll share my screen. Okay. So gratitude is something that younger kids might kind of have a hard time grasping, and that's okay. We don't necessarily need them to completely understand the effects of gratitude, because that's a hard one to understand when you maybe aren't at your peak emotional maturity yet. But I do have some fun activities that kids can get started on, just practicing, and it's okay if they don't fully understand the concept yet. But for older kids and teens, they totally can grasp this. And so I have a variety of activities that can be used for a number of different age ranges. And the first one I have here is just a picture of what's called a gratitude tree. And so I think this is a really simple thing that can be done as a family activity. And to make this, you could start by just going on a little walk outside, maybe when it's a nice sunny day, and everyone could kind of gather up like a small stick or a really little branch, and nothing big, you know, you don't have to cut down a tree, but it's just big enough to be able to fit into like a mason jar or a little vase that you're comfortable having inside. So go on a nature walk, and while you're out on the walk, just notice some of the things in nature that you might not normally pay attention to. Notice some of the really beautiful colors that you can see, and think about like all the animals that are out in nature and the things that you might not normally notice. And that's a good way to practice gratitude while you're getting ready to make your gratitude tree. And then when you come back in with your branches, you can either even gather up some like pebbles or rocks to put into the bottom of your vase or your jar. Then what you're going to do is just get some green construction paper and cut it out into little leaf shapes. And all you need is some twine or ribbon or string to be able to hole punch the leaves and then tie them onto your branches. And you could come together as a family maybe once a week or even once a day if you're feeling ambitious, and everyone can write on each leaf something they feel grateful for. So again, this can be a really small thing. It doesn't have to be a life-changing, thing that makes this huge positive impact on you, but it could be something as simple as, petting my dog today, or being able to go outside in the sunshine, something that we might not normally think of all the time. So the instructions for the gratitude tree are up on our website, and we are really excited to see what you guys make as a family. I think that could be really cool. So for older kids or teens who might not feel like a gratitude tree is for them, I have kind of a more simple idea that can be done as a family, which is called a gratitude jar. So the idea is really similar, where you kind of just keep track of things that you're grateful for and write them on a slip of paper and then just put it in the jar. And something that I think is great about having a collection of the things that you're grateful for is that you can come back and reflect on it. So during times when, again, like if you might be feeling down or you're noticing kind of some difficult, like negative energy, maybe in your family or just within certain individuals in your family, coming together maybe like once a week to open up the gratitude jar and just read through together all the things that your family members are grateful for can be a really, really good reminder that there are positive things going on right now. So if you need some help coming up with some ideas, there are some prompts for some of these slips of paper that are included with the instructions on our website for a gratitude jar. So you can either just have blank pieces of paper, or you can have specific prompts on the paper if that might be more helpful for you or your children. And the last thing I wanted to share is a gratitude journal that I put together for you all. And so this is a way to just kind of keep your family practicing gratitude consistently, but there are some fun activities included in it too, so it can kind of make it a little bit enjoyable. And so this is up on our website, so I'm not going to go through it all right now, but one thing I wanted to point out is a gratitude scavenger hunt. And so this is not only a way to keep your kids occupied or have like a fun new family activity to do together, but it's a way, again, to notice some of the small things that we might not normally pay attention to that make a positive impact on our lives. So for example, pointing out something that smells great is, something really simple and can be a fun way to just kind of come together as a family and do an activity like this. So the lines are there to just kind of fill in the scavenger hunt, like what you find, but this could be done so many times. Like there is not one answer to everything, so it could be done over and over again whenever you guys need a reminder. So that is also up on our website. And if you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us, but we're so excited to see what kinds of things you come up with as a family, and please feel free to share with us like your pictures of your gratitude tree, or if you make a really cool gratitude jar, we love to see it, so you could share it in the comments of our Facebook page.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I think there are so many cool ideas in there. I love the gratitude tree idea. Just because, we go for walks all the time, especially now. And, my daughter's always we're not really walking because she stops to pick up sticks and rocks. So it's like, and then she wants to bring them home. So I'm like, this is the perfect marriage of like, we can make our walk functional now, which I think is really cool. And I just love the idea of sitting down and doing that as a family. And I love the scavenger hunt idea also. You had me at scavenger hunt. I think that's great. And I think the really cool part too is it kind of ties into some of the stuff that you talked about a few weeks ago on our show, where it is kind of tapping into some of that mindfulness stuff too. And you can marry the mindfulness and the gratitude, for like a super powerful coping skill, which I think is really, really cool way to bring those two things together.
Yeah, thanks. I think especially when we notice some things that we don't normally pay attention to, that is a really great way to practice mindfulness and help us to feel grounded and present in the moment. So Yeah, that's a good reminder, Alex.
Yeah, that's great.
I also really think that that's a great way to, again, have connections with family and friends that are not, that we're not able to see right now, because, just because we can't all be together right now doesn't mean you can't be grateful for those relationships. So being able to have those connections and, going through and doing a scavenger hunt over a video chat with family to make sure that they know that you're grateful for them, and vice versa. And I think that's another great way to just kind of expand the connections that feel like we're far apart right now, but I think it's a really great way to make it so it feels like we're a little bit closer to.
Yeah, great idea.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Sarah. So we're gonna, when you see us again, we will be, you'll see Tess with her segment, and then you'll see us with our special guest this week. So we'll see you in a minute.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Test Talks. I wanted to continue kind of the conversation that I had last week, talking about worries and the stress that a lot of people are experiencing with everything going on in the world right now. So today I wanted to talk about some of my favorite meditation and mindfulness apps that you can download on your phone. These are all free apps, and they are really great for, just taking a little bit of time out of your day to kind of center yourself, ground yourself, and really focus on, just the present moment. So I just wanted to highlight some of the features of some of these apps. So the first one is called Insight Timer. So this one, like I said, all of these are free. This one offers meditation and music track options, so like relaxing music to help with things like sleep, anxiety, stress. Like I said, they have music, polyphonic bells, so different chiming bell sounds, and they also have different courses that you can take on meditation. Next is an app called Calm. This one has guided meditations, sleep stories, so like stories that you can listen to help you fall asleep. Music for things like focusing, relaxing, sleeping, and then they also offer master classes, so again, some classes on meditation. Next is Headspace. This one's free as well. This one offers a variety of guided meditations for different moods or activities that you might be doing. This one also, the cool thing about this one, it allows you to track your meditations, and it offers mindfulness workouts so you can be active while being mindful. Next one is called Buddhify. This one has, again, meditations for a variety of activities, including for when you're with a friend, if you're on the phone, eating, can't sleep, things like that. So a wide variety of meditation options. This one is good for beginners or people with experience with meditating. And this one is quoted as the mindfulness app for people who don't have time. So these are just quick meditations that you can do. Next is called Smiling Mind. This one is cool because it has options for adults, kids, and families. Also for classrooms and work environments. So that's cool kind of with people working and doing school from home right now. Lots of different options for doing meditations with groups of people. This one you can also set reminders for yourself and track your progress in as you're working through the meditations and mindfulness. And finally, the last one is called Take a Break. So this one's a pretty simple one. They've just got a few options. You can listen to meditations with or without any kind of calming music or nature sounds of your choice. Like I said, all of these are free, so they are pretty accessible. You can download them on your phone, and to just kind of help ground yourself through all of the scary stuff that's going on right now. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, welcome back. We just got another great intro or information from Tess for her segment. Now we are very excited to welcome our very special guest, Senator Curtis Hertel, who is one of our local senators here in the Lansing, Michigan area. Thank you, Senator, for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Great. So Senator Hertel's been a great supporter of Small Talk. He's been to Small Talk before. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have him on. And he's certainly a leader in our community. So again, thank you for your service to all of your constituents.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody
I love
in
my
the
job every day.
Good. We're glad to hear that. So, as we normally do with our guests, we have a quick icebreaker. So, Sarah, I'll have you pull that up, and we can go ahead and get going so people can learn a little bit more about you.
Great.
All right. Can you guys see the wheel?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
You said you didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see it beforehand. No, I want
to. Okay, so what's the best part of your job as a state senator?
You know, I think the best part of my job is that I get to see all the great work that's being done in the community, and get to help where I can, but also get to see a lot of the things. I think that a lot of times people live in a place and they don't know all the great work that people are doing. And we get to play a really small part in highlighting those things and helping where we can. And Small Talk is certainly a great example of that. So while there are lots of, parts of my job that can be frustrating, and certainly we deal with people that are upset in the middle of this pandemic and are trying and need help, and helping people is really important. But I do think that every day I get to learn more about what's happening in the community I live in and try to help people, and that's really both of a lot of our similar roles there. So that's what I think is the best part of my job.
Wonderful, thank you.
No problem.
All right, so I know Megan's got the first question.
Is that the only spin, or that we don't? Okay.
I think we'll leave it at one spin for your sake.
Okay.
Today.
All right.
Yeah, we got some hard-hitting questions for you. So.
All right, perfect. Let's go.
All right, Megan, you're up.
Well, hi. So I'm Megan. My first question is going to be, what kinds of things are our state and local government doing to support families and provide them with information and stuff right now while they're going through this pandemic?
Yeah. So, obviously, on the big end, the governor's doing press conferences on a regular basis and trying to provide information to people. My office has been focused on those kinds of things, but on a bit much narrower level. We try to help explain what the executive orders mean to people on our Facebook page and through social media. We do weekly coffee hours. So every Friday, 9 o'clock, although this Friday it's going to be at 1 because of a scheduling thing. But we come on, we talk about whatever people want to talk about. We answer people's questions. We had an unemployment town hall, and that next day we got over 200 calls in the office. Over 100 were in our district. We actually referred people to 36 of the 38 Senate districts around the state. So keeping people informed is really important. But also trying to help people navigate. I see my job. Obviously, I'm a legislator, and the obvious parts of that are I push a button for a living and give speeches. But I think more important part of our job sometimes is actually trying to help people work with state government. So oftentimes government can be a big and scary thing. And there's frustration, I think, oftentimes trying to jump through all the hoops that are required. And so our job is to, in my office, try to help make that a little easier. So if people have problems in the district, I want them to call the office 517-373-1734. Our offices are shut down most days right now, but we're still working from home. So my staff, I think, is putting in more hours than they were actually when they were working here, because we've had so many unemployment concerns that they've been calling people back up until 8 o'clock at night. And I certainly give them plenty of things to do after that. So they're working a number of hours in order to do that. I'm in my office today because we have session, but most of the time our offices are not open during this. But we want to be there to help people.
Great, thank you so much. I know I went to one of the coffee hours, and it was a couple of Fridays ago, and it was really cool to just see because there's so many people interacting, and there's a lot of people that are really involved and have a lot of questions. And I think it's great that you offer that. It's
been very cool. I mean, at a normal coffee hour, we probably get a few dozen people, and on these virtual ones, we're getting hundreds of people at a time. So it actually is very helpful.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how engagement, I think, in lots of different things has changed just because the medium is a little bit different because it has to
Absolutely.
be
Yeah,
to keep
no, I
people
think that
safe.
there's an upside and downside to all of it, right? Like I miss seeing people's faces. You know, I mean, I think one of the hardest part about doing coffee hours is that we don't do them over Zoom. We do them over Facebook because that's, in my opinion, more accessible to people. But the hard part of that is that I don't get to see people's faces. I get to read what they're saying, but and I miss people's faces. I mean, I have 4 kids, and my wife and my dog, and we certainly all love each other. But at some point, you have to see other people.
Yeah, understandable. All right. So one of the questions I wanted to ask was, I know you've been so supportive of, the work that we do at Small Talk and for survivors of sexual assault, as a whole across our state. Could you talk a little bit about sort of, some of the legislation that you've put forth and supported in your career and why that cause has been such an important one for you, in your career?
So, for me, the biggest thing that we're trying to work on is a change in culture. And so affirmative consent has been the number one piece of legislation that I've been trying to work on. Um, you know, there are lots of things we can do in this process, and certainly we have to do better on the prosecutorial side and all that. But I think that in order to change where we are as a society when it comes to sexual assault, you have to change the culture. The fact that my daughter will be taught her entire life where not to walk, what not to wear, how to take care of her drink. But the boys in her class, and even my sons, won't be taught not to be perpetrators. And so this started out, I went to the East Lansing Gender Equality Club. It's a club at school at East Lansing. And we started talking about their sex ed classes. And they had this kind of fringe group that had come in and taught them a portion of their sex ed. And they were taught things like girls that had sex were like used chewing gum, and that, or tape that they wouldn't be sticky any longer, and that they would be basically useless. Lots of shaming tactics. A lot of things that weren't right. And so we started working on some changes to the sex ed code together. And this became one of the things that we started pushing. You asked how it became so personal for me. What I can tell you is when you start down this road and start working on these issues, it started out as something that I thought was the right thing to do. It became more passionate for me because so many people shared their story with me because of what we were working on. Strangers, family members, people I've known forever that would have never known. And that gives you a certain sense of responsibility. And so it became more important to me. I don't know, more important, more passionately, more part of your soul, from those people telling me their stories and really learning how pervasive this is. Because I think as a man, I obviously know that men are sexually assaulted, but at a much lesser number. As a man, I don't think I ever would have known how many people that we come in contact with every day are carrying around their stories. And I was the first person that some people told, other than themselves. And so that makes it very personal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think we all, all of us here on this call certainly understand the sort of responsibility that it takes to be there to hear somebody's story. I mean, that's why Small Talk sort of exists
Absolutely.
in the first place. And, we, certainly can't thank you enough for your advocacy as far as this, this huge concern of sexual assault and sexual abuse, because it is, I agree with you. It's something that before I started doing this work, I had no idea how significant of a problem it was. because it is such a silent crime it's underreported.
There's so much shame. I mean, one of the hardest things I think that you deal with is that, a child grows up in a house and what they experience is what's right. That's their own experience. It's their only version of the world. And that's one of the reasons why I think actually affirmative consent is more important as well, because it says to somebody, this is what actually is correct, and this is what's happening in your world may not be. And how are you supposed to know? I mean, if your world has been nothing but abuse, then how would you know it's wrong, other than an internal feeling? But we are the products of of the environment we grew up in. So that's why I think what you do is so important.
Well, thank you so much. And I mean, culture change, I think, starts at the top too. And for you to be somebody who's championing that as a mission and as a cause, I think that's going to be, I think it's already paying dividends. And I think the more work and more people we have to kind of join us in this fight, I think we'll get to a place where we can protect more kids
Absolutely.
every day. So thanks for answering that one. I know Sarah's got another question for you too.
Yeah, so we're just wondering, like, when all of this is over, where we might be feeling like things are maybe a little bit back to normal.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for our local community?
Oh, I thought you were asking what my hopes were to go. I'm like, I want to go back to Gulfport, Alabama on the beach. I want to go to the world. I want to go to a movie. These really tough things have the ability to either bring us together or to tear us apart as a country. And what I fear is that what we've seen a little bit lately at the Capitol building is the tearing apart of this. I think about World War II a lot, in the sense that there were really tough things that people had to do. There were the rationing that people had to do. There were a lot. I mean, obviously, there were people's loved ones drafted to go to war. People had to step up who were still back at home, and the sense of us coming together after that, imperfectly, obviously, because we still had racism and we still needed the civil rights movement and everything else, but we did, at least for a small period of time, do that. Or I think about after 9/11. Well, yes, there were awful people who used that to race bait and everything else. For a period of time, politics became more congenial for a brief period. And so there's always going to be those people that are radically upset and want to make this about themselves or something else. But I think that a majority of people, when you look at polling and everything else, have done the right thing during this pandemic. And hopefully the majority of those people will be able to talk to each other and get back to each other, and maybe we'll stop taking a lot of things for granted. I mean, there are very small things that I think most of us would love to do. I'd love to go see my mom, who I've seen her over Zoom, but I haven't seen her in a long time. I had a nephew born in the middle of all this. I'd like to go hold him. And there are probably lots of little things we take for granted. So my hope is that when this is all done, that we'll find joy in the small things that we're able to do again. Obviously, there are huge problems with the budget and the economy and everything else that we need to solve, but there are some upsides to everything too. Maybe it makes us a little more appreciative of some of the things we have.
Yeah, I love that. So I actually talked a little bit about this concept of gratitude earlier in the show, and I think that just really hits it home that right now, during this time when there are things that we don't have, we can appreciate what we do have sometimes. But also, I love that that's your hope, for us moving forward, is to use this time as almost a lesson for us moving forward, that there are always some good things to take note of. So thank you.
Thank you.
right. And our last question is one that we ask every guest that we have on the show.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Favorite food.
I wish.
I thought that would be on the wheel. I thought the wheel was going to be more like random. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, what is your favorite food? Just that.
Royal red shrimp. They're on the they live on a continental shelf out in the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf Shores, Alabama is a place where my dad used to take me. He passed away 4 years ago. I actually sit on his desk every day here, but there's these. They're like this big, and they taste like lobster, and they're not like expensive food. They're like, they're you get them in a boil with corn and everything else, but they're amazing.
Nice. Great answer. I was not expecting that. That's a good.
So yeah, I mean, I'm full of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So,
what's your last question?
Yes. So one of the things that we talk about sort of internally in Small Talk is heroism and being a hero. We certainly think all the kids that we serve are heroes for telling their stories and doing what it is they need to do to heal themselves and and in turn heal their families. And I think especially during this pandemic, there has been so much talk about heroism and maybe looking at some of those unsung heroes who've been really doing a lot to continue moving our country and our community forward. And allowing all of us to, continue to live our lives under really difficult circumstances. But, when you hear the word hero, what does that mean to you, especially during times like this?
Well, I mean, I obviously first think of my father, but that's a very personal version of a hero, just because he taught me, how to be a public servant and how to be a father, husband, and all those things. But when I think of a hero, I think of somebody who does the things that they do without the accolades and does it because it's the right thing to do. And so, those people that are on the front line saving lives every day, the firefighters, the paramedics, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store workers who are making it so that we can still go out and get food, even though they're putting their own lives at risk. Those are the people that I think about. I mean, I think oftentimes we think of heroes, those that are on the news or those that are wearing capes or getting awards. I have lots of personal heroes in my life. Amanda Thomas show. I mean, just lots of people that I think are amazing, beautiful people. But right now, I think that it's those people that are taking time away from their families, risking their own safety in order to protect others. And I think that happens probably in this country all the time, and we barely even notice. And it's nice that I think maybe that's one of the other nice things about this is that we're actually highlighting some of those people.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking this time, Senator Hertel. I know you're really busy. Obviously, you've got a lot going on. Things are changing very rapidly for all of us, but thank you so much for your service and for hopping on this call with us and helping get the word out about Small Talk and, what our community is doing to, help us move forward during a really difficult
Well, you
time.
guys are everyday heroes too, so thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.